Hey everyone, Joe here, and today I am continuing to share my personal professional notebooks from my last 25 years in the creative industry, specifically marketing and advertising. I want to thank Gerard Adderley for suggesting that I share that first video with Toronto Ad Jobs on Facebook. The response was great, and I really appreciate all the feedback. A few of you have asked that I go in chronological order and not jump around across the ages. So that's exactly what I've decided to do. And I'm only going to do 10 of these episodes. I'll do others with time lapses of the spreads and other ideas and projects, but just 10 of this format. Trust me, there's about a book a year, but they're not all winners. So today I'm going to share with you one of my favorite books of the last 2 decades. I can't wait to show it. But before we do that, I want to share the bridges between this book, which I shared last week, and this one. There's a couple of stages in between, and this first one here, or the first one that I shared rather, was like I said before, very expressive, very free. Just kind of, I was waiting to break out of a lot of kind of really regimented habits that I was in. So before I did that, there's a couple places that I started, and the Filofax actually, that I came from, it wasn't all terrible. It wasn't all boring. I defined my style from there. I moved from this bizarre form of upper lowercase printing into what I would describe as this, for lack of a better word, architect style script, I guess. And so the writing style was defined in this book. There is some reference in here as well. There's some reference in back pages and things like that. There is a diary section. There's lots of notes, lots of thoughts, and there is a coding system for what? I don't know. I don't know what this coding system is for. But the big thing I carried forward for years and years and years, and I still do today, is these tabs. Now, obviously, these are purchased tabs that come in this Filofax format, but I began making them on my own, and I must have had a lot of time on my hands, because I would literally, just wait for it to focus here, I would literally print off sorry guys, I would literally print off these little tabs and stick them in with tape, and I've done that quite a bit throughout the years. So it's interesting too, because there is a gap between this book and there's a huge gap actually between this book and this one, and it's a year that we had bought a house. My partner and I purchased a house, and so we put together this house book, which featured all of our ideas, our reference, that sort of thing. But I started implementing this tab system here as well, and this one's a little more intense. I don't know if you can see, but this was basically like cut away from the inside of a sketchbook. So I'm actually going to do a video just showing how I do these, because I continued this system going forward in some other books. But this was kind of the missing year. There's nothing really interesting in here. That's the house address, which I actually cut out into the front. It's recessed. I don't know if you can see that. So let's get started with these little notebooks here. So These were, I didn't want to carry around this big bulking thing. I actually kept using this. I kept it on my desk, and I used it for important dates. Just like my calendar and contact information, that sort of thing. But I wanted something more mobile, so I picked up these little things, which are from Shoppers Drug Mart. They're not. They're just these crappy little red notebooks from Shoppers Drug Mart. And there's not a lot of what you saw in the previous video in these books. They're pretty basic. Like I said, there's this tab format, and these ones are really focused and specific on writing I was doing at the time. So I have characters, I have titles, chapter outlines, dialogue, research, that sort of thing. One of the interesting things, or bizarre things that I did, was I actually printed out pieces from that I had either typed or handwritten and put them in here. And one of the ways I would review what I had written is by going over it in this format. I would make corrections and then put it back in the computer. And it seems a little complicated and laborious, but it was very, very helpful. It really changed the way that I wrote. And sometimes you're in different moods when you're writing, and this really helped me put the words through their paces and get things right. There's a few little drawings here that I've done, and articles for reference and things like that. But for the most part, it's pretty basic. This is a whole chapter outline and things that are going to happen, different plot points. Not a lot of stuff for work in here. This is pretty funny. This is a list of rhetorical devices from a high school textbook, and I still refer to this, actually. I don't know why, but so that was pretty basic. And then I wanted something that was even easier to carry around, something I could just kind of slip in my pocket, and it was this one. And this actually is closer to where I got when I was doing this book. And it's got some reference in here, reference for some rings. This is actually one of the drawings my partner has done. Little rules for myself, things I'm going to work on. This is something that you saw probably in the previous book. And I was having stomach troubles at the time. My doctor told me to keep track of what I was eating. So I literally drew what I was eating. And it's funny because it actually slowed me down quite a bit. I ate less, and I paid more attention to the type of food that I ate because I didn't want to have to draw it all, if that makes any sense. So here's some sushi and chips and things like that. But yeah, it was a fun exercise, something I enjoyed. And I don't even know what this is. This is complete madness. But yeah, this is the kind of the beginning before I got to the Green Book. And some ideas for tags there. Pretty interesting. This is a map of San Francisco. I was working on Levi's at the time, and I went to San Francisco a couple times, so that was pretty cool. When I would transcribe stuff, after it was transcribed, I just crossed it out so I knew that I had kind of moved thought to another place. And that is pretty much it. Biggles Philosophy. Oh, that's from one of these kids, what's it called? Like a Stories for Boys adventure books. And there was some interesting stuff in here. Either you will crash or you will not crash. If you do not crash, there's no need to worry. I thought that was pretty funny. And what else we got in here? More transcribing my books, my writing rather. And finally a calendar, which is you know, it looks like a gnome did this writing. I don't even know why it's so small. In my attempt to be practical, I just became like, you know, completely obsessive. Oh, it ends with salt and begins with pepper. Anyways, so those are the prototypes to what we're gonna talk about. But this is one of my favorites, and one of the reasons it is one of my faves is because it is sparse. There's not a lot of personal work in it. It's mostly professional work. There's a lot less reference in general. There's still reference, and it's got a couple of a lot of notes from creative writing, that type of thing. So I like that. It's easy to differentiate what everything is, and let's just get into it. So you're going to see a lot of this stuff, which is I had spent basically 2 years cooped up writing use. So I was outside a lot more, and I was like longboarding and things like that. So there's a lot more reference to surfing and longboarding in here. But this is all, you know, ideas for ads. Oh, there you go. Just what I was saying. It's a video game, actually, so I was inside playing video games. But there's a lot of work here that is just for work. And then there's stuff that is professional and creative writing. And I wrote 2 novellas or chapter books during this time. And this is reference for them. One of them was kind of horror-based, and the other one was a little more anime-based. But they still play in the same universe as Use, the book I wrote previous. So it's me trying to create like this whole, I guess this world building, but it's around this corporation, and you know, I don't need to get into how it was all related, but maybe later as we get into the other books. More writing, but as you can see, you know, thoughts are better organized. I do start using this color coding system. Blue, green, and red, and this little device here, this box with the drop shadow, which a lot of people have, you know, kind of know me for at work. They know that if I've made a note and left it on a whiteboard or something and it looks like that, they know it's mine. This is a great quote from Ralph Waldo Emerson. I pack my trunk, embrace my friends, embark on the sea, and at last wake up in Naples, and there beside me is the stern fact, the sad self, unrelenting, identical to that I fled from. Very interesting quote on travel. You can't get away from who you are. This is reference for one of the stories I was writing at the time, which actually takes place in a well, I'm not going to give it away, but obviously you can see it's inspired by anime and video games and that sort of thing. Futura 2000. It's a great little drawing. Here you can see we're getting back to this idea of a writer's retreat, a cabin in the woods, an artist's getaway, which becomes a reality. And I'm going to take you through that in some of the later books. But the seeds are still germinating here. This is, you know, like I said, there's not a lot of personal stuff in here, but the personal stuff that is in here is just like, you know, insecurity about being creative and rambling on about, you know, what am I doing with my life, that sort of thing. And there's just not a lot of it, but it's still present. Dave Thomas. You know, these kind of pros and cons systems for things I'm working out here, walking through those, which have proven to be useful to me in the future. This was basically, you know, how I was going to weight the order of importance of my personal projects and what I was going to spend my time on. This is a photograph of my eyes, inside of my eyeballs or whatever. I guess they were pretty healthy. Yeah. Here's the date. September 9/11, 2001. This is just some reference. Two ways of dealing with it. These were monks who were praying for peace, and this was a tow truck in New York City with "Revenge" painted on the front. It's an interesting period. Yeah, and these were monuments destroyed by the Taliban. This was obviously pre 9/11, but this is something that was going on before all that happened. More reference for the anime piece that I was writing. So I reference a lot of toys in it. I reference a lot of anime, that sort of thing. Tron, the whole idea behind Tron and the aesthetic plays into it quite a bit. This is actually a saddle from Hermès, which is just, look at that, it's beautiful. That was a reference for the story as well. Lord of the Rings, what can I say? This was like it's incredible inspiration for me, like the whole thing, not just the film, but the process of making the film, drawing attention to this little island at the bottom of the world that wasn't Hollywood. I can't underestimate what a huge influence this was on my creativity and how it actually pushed me into film and video at a later date, but I saved my ticket for the show, and this is actually a ticket for an exhibit that was at Casa Loma, which was an exhibit of all the drawings and the props and some photography. It was incredible. But yeah, I drew a little ring there. Gandalf. Why not? This is H.P. Lovecraft reference. I believe this is Paul Carrick. If I get it wrong, I'm sorry. I'll put the right name here. Yeah, really inspirational illustrator. Did a great job of bringing this stuff to life. Yeah, this is a so my Nona passed away, and I was, as you can see, I was at a total loss for words. I kept this tag from when she was in palliative care, and for me it just kind of sums it up. At the end of her life, after making, providing all this comfort, all this culture, all this great food and inspiration, she's reduced to this, which is just like apple juice, clear broth, Jello, and lemon tea. Yeah, so that was bullshit. Read a good novel before Hollywood ruins it. This is more personal rambling. These are designs for displays that we were working on for my partner, greeting cards, and yeah, really simple nesting system, boxes that nested into each other, and you can pull them all out and stick them on the stand. It was very cool. I don't know what all this is. It's more surfboards, longboards. It's pretty into it. Just drawn boards for some reason. Yeah, that's something to take my mind off of stuff that was going on. More boards, more Tron reference. This is actually a reference for one of the novellas that I was working on, and it's a giant wheel, mining wheel, and just about the escalation of the size of these things. But I had a pretty cool idea, which I'll share with you later on that. Dead broadcast signals, kind of prophetic. I was working on broadcast TV at the time, and yeah, kind of captured how I was feeling. Don't know what these are. I think they are color reference my partner was making, but I just love the way they looked when they came out, and I saved them. Yep. Try again, winner. I don't even know where I got this from. Yeah, that's awesome. Oh, Sonny Garcia surfing, Shaolin Warriors. I had gone to see the Shaolin Warriors partly inspired by what I was working on, partly because of something that actually, we did an ad for Delicio, maybe I'll post it, and the Shaolin Warriors figured pretty heavily in that. March 10th, the hottest date of your life. March 10th is my birthday, so I had to clip that, put it in. More reference for the book. This is a ticket from the Arts and Letters Club of Toronto, but just look at how beautiful this is. It's kind of like, was that a Viking boat? Oh, it's badass. I love it. More drawings I had done for reference for the book. That's one of the characters from the book as well. Wicked cool shot of Vader. This is one of the characters from the book that I had drawn. He's in disguise. There's more of reference to that wheel I was talking about. So I got an idea for this actually, and I'll keep that for later. We'll talk about that, but just more thoughts. These are all for Jello. This is all work stuff. Talking about the 5 senses here, breaking that down. This is reference for the character that I was developing for one of the books we were working on, and some interesting things going on there. This was like exterior texture for these parts here. That's how that relates. Or just work stuff. One of the characters from the book. 2 more of the characters from the book. These were oversized giant mascots. They look cute and small, but they would actually probably be about 9 to 10 feet tall. And this one's called Wata Chewy, and this one's called Pata Chewy. And I forget what the differences were. I don't remember. Broken book. Yep, more Tron reference. I kept referencing this incredible thing from the 80s, put out by Texas Instrument, which was a speech recognition video game, believe it or not. I think it was like 1983 or 84. Maybe it was 83. But, pretty incredible technology. There's Bill. There's pre-disgraced Bill. He was the spokesperson for Texas Instruments. And Jello, which is interesting, because working on Jello back here, so, I don't know, maybe it was... I don't know what the significance is, but shame about him. These are characters that I've drawn for the short story. It's funny too because I know this just looks like blank space, which is what it is, but it's a lot for me to just leave this area blank. Obviously, I was intending to make some notes about different aspects of these characters. What's this? I don't know. Personal finances. Grateful Dead. Appointment for my cats. This is more reference for one of the books that I was working on. Oh yeah, here we go. Star Wars Episode 2. It's my ticket, and here's a little baby in an R2-D2 shirt crying because his childhood was ruined by Star Wars Episode 2. And then here we get into some ads, and this is the way I kind of used to visualize my ideas. Just take the time to kind of draw them out and work through them and just see if they were communicating visually, if they were worth it. It's a great That's a great system, and I still do it. These are just happen to be really, you know, really well plotted out. Here's some more stuff for Oz. I don't know if anyone remembers the TV show Oz, but there's a guy thinking about doing crime, and he's thinking, Oz? Maybe I shouldn't do crime. More references for display. We actually built something pretty much like that. More ads. These are actually for the show, the movie rather, Magnolia. Some fun stuff here. More insecure ramblings about being creative. What else do we have here? I don't know what this is. Finances, I guess. Oh yes, drawings from, you guessed it, a couple of the books I was working on. Oh yeah, so these are the beginning stages of some ads for this sci-fi network thing we were working on. So I'm going to show you these, and then I'm going to show you the stuff that my buddy Alan actually illustrated for us. They're back here. What are these? These are ads for... I forget. These are ads for my mom. She runs a Christian bookstore. And one of the headlines here is the Father, the Son, the Holy Ghost. We have gifts for everyone in your family. That's pretty interesting. These are ads for Iron Chef. This one says, in the tradition of great Japanese TV, two men battle with giant sea crab. Hardy Har, Jerry Lewis. More Jerry Lewis. Wendy's Double. Look at that, it's a classic. Oh yeah, so these are the illustrations that my buddy Al did for the ideas you saw earlier. So Star Trek uniform with the cleaners, land speeder in someone's, yard with a bunch of other cars, alien chest burster, and dudes getting some antacid. And the whole idea is that this was a channel for people who loved science fiction, who lived science fiction. These are some executed ads. This is an ad in the phone book for Delissio, and it says, what part of It's Not Delivery don't you understand? There's a rabbit looking at a vegetarian pizza. These are ads we actually made. I think they were, let me zip back here. Yeah, so it's this one. Came to life. We decided to go with one rabbit instead of two. I think it's a better choice. Just more ramblings. Me drawing food again. There's my cat doing an ollie. There's a character from the book. So as you can see, it's much more, it's much more sparse. It's much more, it's much less of, an explosion. And I'm not just writing to fill space. Everything's very thoughtful. Everything's very organized. I can retrieve information easily, whereas with this one, I couldn't retrieve any information. Renovation for my house. What else we got in here? Notes for a presentation. Doodles. This thing I do over and over again. It's kind of like my nervous doodle when I'm in a meeting. Two Towers exhibit, which was the sequel to the Fellowship of the Ring exhibit. And that is pretty much it. So the Information Awareness Office at DARPA, made in Canada. Yeah, I think I cut that out after, I think 9/11 was still kind of in everyone's minds, still is. I don't know, just reference. made in Canada, and that's it. And, you know, this is one of the reasons I love this book, is because, like I said, I made it all the way to from one end to the other, which is pretty challenging for a creative person like me. I mean, I have diagnosed ADHD, real ADHD, not like the boardroom kind, and you know, this really helps me work through a lot of what's going on in my head and what's on my mind. So this was a great start to something I carry forward, which is, like I said, everything's kind of color-coded. I can get information when I need it. I can see referencing when I need it. Important things are put in important places. And, you know, stuff that I want to remember and stuff that I want to keep for the future is all put in a place of importance. So that's it. Thanks again for watching. And next time we're going to go through the sequel to this book, for lack of a better word. And thanks again. Please, if you like this video, share it and subscribe. And I will see you next Saturday.